Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan. With conference championship weekend right around the corner, that means more mock drafts for you all here. We're excited to do this here. If you like off-season content, NFL mock drafts, and just the NFL in general, hit that subscribe button to get notified when new videos come out. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's see if we can make that possible. And Ryan, let's get into it here. Let's start to
Let's
do
do it.
some rapid fire. We are doing no trades in this on this mock draft here. We will eventually be doing trades on this podcast once when things get a little bit more surefire on where the picks are going to be more solidified as we get closer to the end of the year and the end of the season. So Ryan, I think too with where are the Patriots? Where are the Patriots ranked at? Since you're a Patriots fan, are they
They're 32nd, so
all right?
they're
So
even.
since I'm a Falcons fan, I am odd. I'm odd in general, so it fits out perfectly. So for me here, Tennessee Titans. Shout out real quickly to the ownership. Probably one of the more worst ownerships I think in the league as of right now. Especially too if you go look at Ryan's coach right now, the New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel. He was the former head coach of this team, and then they just fire their head coach, and who knows what's going to happen here. So I do think here, if this lays out, this is I think a prime trade back position, especially too with the Raiders for sure looking for a quarterback, Browns, Jets. I would throw the Cardinals in there, maybe even two sneaky Rams as well too. If there's somebody that they really like, they have the extra first round pick thanks to my Atlanta Falcons here, but also the Saints potentially. But in general, though, I do think they need to keep on improving that offensive line, but there's nobody here really that they should take. It would be funny if they went Jeremiah Love just to keep improving that running back room, move on, even though Tony Pollard actually hasn't been horrible. So I think for me, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the first three guys here, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, or Rueben Bain Jr. I think for me, I I think Caleb Downs is probably maybe one of the best players in this draft here. He's just a safety. I think the edge rusher is going to be the one that gets a little bit more attention. And so I'm going to go with Ruben Bain Jr. I know Arvell Reese has linebacker next to his name, but he's pretty much just a modern day edge rusher here now. And I'm going to go
Yeah,
with Ruben Bain here. I don't think they can go wrong with any one of those guys, but more likely, though, they're going to trade back.
yeah. I think especially too if they are number one, they trade back. They get the 2 or 3
Yeah.
more first round picks. I think there are maybe the Browns give them 2 first round picks in this draft. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens as this process plays out. But I would suspect that they move back, and then I do think
Yeah.
a guy like Arvell Reese would be on the table if they do move back there. So Arvell Reese is going to be a really interesting case study, by the way, because he's probably top 3 talent in this class. But inside linebackers don't get drafted that high all that much. But we'll see. He also plays some edge, but we'll see. So speaking of a team that drafted a hybrid linebacker edge player in the top 3 last year, the New York Giants picked Abdul Carter last year. They got Jackson Dart at the back end of the first round, and if he could stop, throwing his body around the field and taking some massive hits, I think that pick is going to end up being very successful for them. And so I think you want to get something, I think, that benefits him. I actually do like this defense. I think this defensive front is pretty solid. I think you've gotten more out of your corners than you would have expected at this point. You did just get Javon Holland last offseason as well. So I'm actually going to go. I think Jordyn Tyson is probably the pick here. You pair him up with Malik Neighbors. You have Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson there. Theo Johnson has kind of developed into a nice, tight end option
Mhm.
for them as well. And I think like that really just kind of rounds out. No, I wouldn't even say rounds out. That makes this an elite wide receiver room, I think, there with Jordyn Tyson. Then you'll get Cam Scatteraboo back, and then you'll have Tyron Tracy Jr. in there as well. So I think overall, I would go Tyson here, and then I'd look to maybe address that offensive interior on day 2.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just thinking Jordyn Tyson for the Saints here. I will say it's not I don't think Jordyn Tyson is like historically a top 2 or really top 5 receiver, maybe late top 10, but probably more in the teens. I just think it's more to go to show like kind of where we're at right now with this draft class in
Yeah,
general. And so I think for the Saints here, I don't think they're going to go quarterback. They're definitely in the phase. I mean, they're seeing what they have in Tyler Shuck here. But if they don't end up liking what they're seeing here, this is a prime spot, I think, to go and get a guy like Fernando Mendoza. I'm on the fence here if I want to do that because even too, we were talking about this before. Not sure if Ty Simpson comes out. Not sure if Dante Moore comes out here as well. Trying to think of some other things the Saints need. The Saints, I think, are just looking for just overall other talent here as well. I will say too, similar to Jordyn Tyson. Not that I think Mekhi Lemon is a top 5 pick. Not that I think he's a bad receiver, but I just I could see them maybe going a receiver here, really more just on what's available. Um, yeah, let's do that. Let's stick with the receiver realm. It's just probably too early here. I think for I don't know if they want to do Carnell Tate here. I see what you're going with there. I
Well,
think if
that was just the first one I saw.
Oh, okay. Let's actually go with Mekhi Lemon here. I really love the way that he can create his own separation. I think it's going to go well within this Kellen Moore offense system. I think he pairs up well with Chris Olave and with them trading off Rashid Shaheed. Once again, I totally understand how this is probably maybe a little too early pick wise with Mekhi Lemon. But I also think too, I think they're going to want to get more offensive players here for this team here. I could see them going Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, any of these guys. I don't really think it's a bad pick. I'm just going to go with Mekhi Lemon here.
Yeah, I actually I think both those that's good fits. I think for both of those guys, and I actually
Yeah.
think talent wise, I think that is about where they should go, the top 5, top 10 range. And so I think if you're willing to take a guy in the top 10, top 5 isn't that much further up. So
Yeah.
for me, I think that's good fits for both those guys. Definitely comes in and fills a need. So here with the Raiders, I really want to take Fernando Mendoza. I think he's going to be a good pro. I really do not think the Raiders are ready for a quarterback, especially one that is more reliant on a successful offensive line like Fernando Mendoza is, because he doesn't have the mobility. Like you go look at Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, CJ Stroud, like they are much more mobile than Fernando Mendoza is. Not that he's a bad athlete. I just don't know if he is the type of quarterback that Las Vegas would have success with, especially in the short term. And so for me, I'm going to go and address something else. I actually think this is where Arvell Reese is going to come off the board. You spent the top pick on Tyree Wilson. You have Malcolm Kuntz there, who I believe is a free agent. They could go defensive interior here with Peter Woods, but I think that second level of the defense, it just got really heavily picked over in this past free agency with Divine Diablo leaving and now Robert Spillane left as well. So I think you go and you get an absolute animal to add in that front seven who can kind of come and pass rush a
Yeah.
little bit in key scenarios or is probably the perfect quarterback spy as well, especially in a division where you have Justin Herbert, you have Patrick Mahomes, now Bo Nix. And so I think Arvell Reese is going to be the pick here at this point for the Raiders.
Yeah, so I totally get your logic, but in this scenario, though, it's I think actually Mendoza going to the Raiders, I think actually would allow for him to have some time to go and develop. Expectations would be super low, even with the struggling offensive line. I think it's something that they can go and build around. So I think that they would absolutely go with Mendoza there because you could still also hang on to Geno Smith and Mendoza could sit for a year while
Yeah.
that team keeps on developing as well too. But I that being said, I like Arvell Reese. I agree with your logic in going for
Yeah.
Arvell Reese. Here for the Browns, they're going to take Mendoza now.
Yeah.
At this point, we're going to go with Mendoza here. And Ryan, I'll see if you go with any other quarterbacks here, but I think with Mendoza, one, I also think just the irony of the quarterback room and everything that happened with Deshaun Watson. Go and get a guy who is constantly praising God as well too. I think it's kind of what that quarterback room needs with everything that happened with Deshaun Watson here, and so that's the only quarterback I'm talking about too. Nothing else with Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. I like both those guys, but I think with Mendoza though here, I think this is something. I think they're testing out really to see who potential backups could be as well. I know Deshaun Watson is clearing is on the 21-day return list here. So I'm curious to even see what might happen. Like even if Deshaun Watson looks good, but I mean, because there's so much cap money still. Once again, very similar situation. I think with the Raiders, you could draft this guy, ride it out with Deshaun Watson, and then move on from him when everything's all said and done at the end of 2026. If you're just trying to keep on from that cap, whatever the cap hit is going to be. all that being said, they still just need a quarterback here. And
Yeah.
I think with the Browns, offensive line is better than the Raiders. Not great, but better. You're gonna have a good running game with Quinshon Judkins. You got some reliable tight ends, and then I think with a lot of the draft picks here coming up here as well, you can go and add some receiver weapons, potentially some of his college teammates. So I'm a
Yeah.
big IU fan, so it's been a lot of fun watching Fernando Mendoza, and I hope he's going to have great success here. And it's unfortunate here he goes to the Browns.
Yeah, yeah. I hope he's the one that. Well, I guess Baker kind of broke the curse because he actually had some success there. They just quit on him too early. But I really think in the right system he could be very successful. And I think you go look, Joe Flacco was very successful. I say
Mhm.
very with like air quotes, as successful as a 40-year-old quarterback can be. Um, in that offense, I think Mendoza can play a similar type of game to Joe Flacco in that offense, and so I do like that fit there. Here with the Washington Commanders, this is where I think things get really interesting because I could go in a lot of different ways. I think David Bailey is somewhat worth the pick. I like Cassius Howell. I just am concerned about the arm length there. You start looking at the corners that are on the board. Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy. We still don't really know. He looked really good in 2024. He just still hasn't really played this year. Um,
Well, he's
and
not going
Keldrick,
to. Yeah.
yeah, he's not going to. And so Keldrick Falk looks really good. So there's a lot of different ways I think you could go with the Washington Commanders. I do think I, I think you'll be able to address this is a really deep edge class. I do think you will be able to get better edge rushers on day two than you would corners at this point. And so I'm gonna go with Mansour Delane here at sixth overall and just get them like a true man like corner that Dan Quinn can go and rely on and put in some tough matchups and he'll win more often than not. And so I'm a big fan of his game. He can really do it all at the cornerback position. And so he gets taken here sixth overall for that reason.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. I think Washington as well too is one of those teams. They're they kind of put all their chips in the middle this year, trading away some draft picks for some veteran talent. It just hasn't
Yeah.
panned out. A lot of injuries as well too. So I think kind of that retooling, seeing who they can hang on, and honestly too, even what we saw with that Sunday night football game with Marcus Mariota leading the quarterback spot, we saw what this team could do against a Super Bowl contender. So I just think it was one of those
Yeah.
years where they're just battling injuries and things haven't gone their way. So I think you go get younger at the secondary. I think that could help out a lot. Here with the New York Jets, once again, we'll have to kind of see where the quarterback spot comes out because this is a very clear quarterback spot. Curious here just to see if Dante Moore or Ty Simpson comes out. I think because of that, just to kind of also have a more expansive conversation as well, I'm going to avoid going that here for the New
Mhm.
York Jets because let's say Dante Moore comes out. I would love Dante Moore. I think here within this Brees Hall in the backfield, you're going to have Garrett Wilson as well too. Really like what the Jets are doing on the offensive line as well with Olufashanu and then also Armand Membu as well too. So, but for here though, you trade away Quinn Williams. I would have gone Mansour Delane here, but you end up taking him. So for me, I'm actually going to go with Peter Woods. I think he's going to be a super athletic guy, defensive tackle, something similar. I think to what they had with Quinn Williams in the middle. I think to improve that defensive interior, I think he's the top guy so far. If there's some other guys, I think that they'd want to wait on. I think a guy that I've been really watching more and liking has been Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida. I think that's a good one. There's a couple other guys as well too if they want to wait on this spot here until the second round, like Caden McDonald, Christian Miller, Amari Washington, all those guys. I think are going to be good spots here. But I think the way this is shaked out, going to go with Peter Woods here.
Mhm.
Once again, also very possible that this is a quarterback spot, depending on who all is available.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do think it would be if I was a Jets fan, it could be a little bit frustrating if like you trade away an all-pro defensive tackle just to go draft one in the first round. But I do think, that defensive interior has been a problem for them, especially even with Quinn Williams there. So now you go get another guy I think that can come
Mm.
in and play to a super high level. I think that best player available, and that's what you got. So you still have
Yeah,
the additional
I don't know
uh
if the defensive
first round pick.
interior was a problem. I think the offense was the problem. Just the defensive interior was on the field all the time.
That's
But
fair.
but
That's fair.
I think that's a deeper discussion.
Yeah. So here with the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think this is the biggest need on the team, but I'm going to go with Carnell Tate. I just think you look, uh, if they are not in the quarterback market, I think that they need to arm up this passing game a little bit and really kind of build and establish the weapons that they have on that roster. So you have Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Michael Wilson is a good weapon. Trey McBride is another good weapon. But similar to what I did earlier with the New York Giants, I'm going to kind of do here where I think you need 3 or 4 consistent pass catching weapons in the league or in the league now to, have a super explosive offense. And if you can start stacking these weapons through draft classes, I think that those are some of the better offenses in the league. And so I'm going to go get Carnell Tate here and add him into this offense and give them a more true deep threat than what they already have.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting what the Arizona Cardinals do in the offseason with their quarterback position here because what we're seeing with Jacoby Brissett has been a much improved passing game. The running game's gone down a little bit, but it's because of the injuries on the offensive line and just the fall off a little bit of the offensive line. Plus, too, just a super injured backfield as well, too, with James Conner being out now for the entire season. Trey Benson's missed a lot of the season as well. Maybe I don't know, maybe sneaky Jeremiah Love. That'd be kind of cool, actually. But that's probably not though. So here with the Rams with my Atlanta Falcons pick. Oh, I just realized too that actually the Falcons would be picking ninth. So that makes it perfect actually for the odd number here. So I think a lot of different. I mean, what a absolute luxury pick here. What do you want to
Oh
do? I
yeah.
mean, the front seven's extremely good for the Los Angeles Rams that I really like as well too. I think the secondary has been playing well. Maybe could be improved a little bit more, but it's still relatively young. I think on this side here. I think a lot of different spots. I think that they could end up going here. I think the thing for me that I'm thinking that they would probably want to end up doing a lot of different spots here because the top guys right now are these edge rushers that would fit their system already. I do really like Sonny Styles as being like that more inside linebacker, but they just signed Nate Lehman. They have Omar Spates here as well too. Maybe get them for a little bit more depth. Um, and so for here, they've already drafted some tight ends. Who would be this is what's interesting about this class. You know what? I'm just gonna take it. I think it's just gonna be a Rams thing to do. I'm gonna get Caleb Downs. He's fallen down this far here. They have this luxury pick. Go and get arguably probably just the best football player in this
Mhm.
draft to help out the back end of that secondary. Even allow what especially what you're seeing now Matt Patricia do with Ohio State him being essentially single high coverage, having full trust in Caleb Downs, and you can also just move him around wherever you want. He can come down and play nickel. He can play slot corner. He can maybe even play kind of like a linebacker s player. He's just a really good football player. I think it's going to allow the Rams to even that be that much more dynamic on the defensive side of the ball. If he's here at 9, I mean, I know everybody's talking about like getting a backup quarterback for Matt Stafford, but just go get Caleb Downs and just make that defense even that much better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that pick. I mean, I think Cam Curl is a free agent as well, so they're going to lose one of their starting safeties. You have Cam Kitchens there in that secondary too. They could go more for like a traditional corner, but I think at this point you also have the 29th overall pick. If they want to go like Keith Abney or Brandon Cisse there, I think that that's something that you
Yeah.
could do at that spot. But we'll see when we get there. Here with the Bengals, oh my gosh, do the Bengals need defense so bad? Um, they just have like the amount of times this offense has scored 35 plus points and lost over the last 2 years is way too high. And I think if they could do anything on the defensive side of the ball, this team would be so good. So here at number 10, I don't think they need edge rusher. These guys also are not their style. They just spent a first round pick on Shamar Stewart. We'll see what happens with Trey Hendrickson. Um, I like Caleb Banks. The injuries just scare me.
Keldrick Folk would be is that their style of edge rusher, that bigger
Yeah.
4-3 defensive end.
I feel like if we do the Keldrick Falk pick, that would basically be predicting that Trey Hendrickson will not be coming back.
Oh, I don't think he's coming back at all.
I don't think he is either. So yeah, then let's do that. Let's do Keldrick Falk. I think it's a little bit high for how well he played, but he is a younger prospect. I think you're really kind of picking that upside. He's a really good run defender as well. Can kick inside. He's big enough to kick inside on pass rushing downs. But yeah, we'll go Keldrick Falk here. I was thinking about maybe Sonny Styles after they traded Logan Wilson, but I think going and getting another edge rusher there is going to be the way to go, and you can address linebacker later in the draft.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that makes sense. It really kind of at this point too. This is going to be kind of an essence of where the draft is at right now. Until maybe we see Senior Bowl, maybe we see some of these guys start to separate themselves. But very few blue chip prospects, I think here. So this could be a major butterfly effect very early on in this draft. So one guy that is a blue chip that I think the Minnesota Vikings would pounce on here, just best player available, Jeremiah Love. I think too.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones getting older. You have Jordan Mason back there in the backfield. There's a lot of other issues I think on this team. I mean, I agree, offensive line is a big need for them, but there's just not too many guys I would take here. So go and get Jeremiah Love here, and then you can go address the offensive line later. Also potentially address it once again in free agency, which they kind of did too. That's just kind of interesting, like because they got Ryan Kelly, they got Will Fries as well too. Will
Yeah.
Fries at this past free agency. But just things just haven't panned out. JJ McCarthy's not developing the way that they would like. I still think they're going to give him some more opportunities here, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But I think Jeremiah Love here at 11 is going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, I like that fit there. Here with the Dolphins. So this is one I'm really curious to see how Dolphins fans react to this, because I think you look at, and I don't know if Mike McDaniel is going to get fired or not. I really think this team, especially late in the season, is buying in a little bit more than I would have expected, especially with how well their season has started. So I'm kind of going into this offseason with the expectation that he's going to be the coach in 2026. And for me, I go look at those receiving weapons. Tyreek Hill's not coming back. Well, and if he is, one, I don't know if you guys want him back. Two, I don't know if he'll be the same player after such a gruesome knee injury like that. But I'm going to go get Kenyon Sadiq, because I think you look at the athletic tight end that he is and put him in that system. I think he could be a better version of a Jonnu Smith or, he's a former Georgia Tech wide receiver that had success there this year.
Darren Waller?
Darren Waller. Yeah. I think he could be
I like how you
that.
said Georgia Tech wide receiver and not like the Las Vegas Raiders tight end.
Well, I just say that because
he
I'm
is
a
he is a
Georgia
Georgia
Tech.
Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm the Georgia Tech fan. But so, well, at least I'm the Georgia Tech fan here. I think he's just going to be a really great version. I would love to see what Mike McDaniel can do with him in his system because of his athleticism. He's actually a really good run blocker for somebody that's a little undersized. And so I like the fit there for him. They have so many other needs, but I think they can address it later in the draft and get an elite player there.
Gotcha. I like it. I could see it. I once again too. I think offensive line will be interesting here, and be curious to see then too what defensive players fall. I could see Sonny Styles being a good guy for them there, but here though, I think actually speaking of Sonny Styles, this is who I'm going to end up going with here. I think a guy that Steve Spagnuolo would love to have in his front seven could go edge rusher here, but I think that with David Bailey, Cassius Howell, TJ Parker, TJ Parker's a guy maybe they could go with, but I think Sonny Styles is a guy they can go and move around, and you go and get good linebacker help as well too to help out that front seven. I'm going to go with Sonny Styles here, but I do think this is going to be a defensive pick if Jeremiah Love is not available. If Jeremiah Love does fall to them, I think then that is going to be a clear, like they're running to the podium. No offense, Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, but we want a more established, a younger back there.
Yeah, I also think too Kenyon Sadiq would be a good pick for them, trying to replace Travis Kelce. Obviously, you can't. Yeah. He's a Hall of Fame tight end. I don't think you're gonna do that with one player, but no. And then I also Leo Chenal and not Willie Gay. He already left. Nick Bolton are coming up on contracts or are free agents this specific offseason. So here with the Steelers, man, do they need a lot.
What offensive
Defensively,
coordinators are on the board here?
yeah, exactly. Um, I think offensively they are struggling because of coaching. I don't necessarily know. Like I think DK is still a good wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers is 42. I still think this offensive line should be better than what it is. Um, so I'm not going to go there. Man, this is tough. Let's let's just make this like the biggest, fastest offense that we can. This will be my third wide receiver drafted. But I'm going to go with Chris Bell here to the Steelers. I think you have DK Metcalf, Chris Bell. Both those guys are running 22 plus miles an hour at over 220 pounds. But I think they're very different guys. I feel like Chris Bell is going to succeed more on those shallow to intermediate routes, where DK Metcalf is going to be the, intermediate to deep threat guy, and is going to go up there and get that. I think you could do some interesting things on the offensive side of the ball with Chris Bell in this offense, and do things to get the ball in his hands. So let's take Chris Bell there for the
Okay.
Steelers.
I like it. I definitely don't mind that, especially too if you go and look at just this type of draft class here
Hmm.
as well too. It's like some people might say it's a reach, but it's not like there's too much separation and talent from like the top 15 to then like the
Hmm.
top 55. So I think that's where it's going to be like, hey, if you fall in love with a guy here, Chris Bell's probably not going to be available by like their next pick. So I'm all for them going and doing that here now. Essentially also too, I think he's kind of like a DK Mac, like a young DK Metcalf as well too.
Yeah, I
So
think he's more of a Debo in my opinion,
fair.
but
So Adebo, DK, what's the difference? No, I'm just playing a lot. So once again, though, too, as we reiterate, until we know more about Ty Simpson and Dante Moore coming out as well, too, but this would be a
yeah,
prime quarterback spot. So here with Carolina, I think also too sneaky quarterback spot here. I'm not convinced Bryce Young is a long term answer or a solution here for Carolina, but they're knocking on the door for winning the NFC South here. Very tight race with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense has improved tremendously. Um, I really like their secondary here too with J.C. Horn, and then they go and get Trayvon Morig as well too in free agency. So uh, could potentially keep on beefing up that defensive interior here. I think another thing I think that they might end up doing though is keep on improving this offensive line as well. And there has been an offensive line taken off the board here. I'm back and forth in my head on who I want to go with. I think the one. So I'm a big Indiana fan here, and I was very impressed. I'm not going to pronounce the whole name. I apologize. I butcher names, but Ola Ione,
it's
the Penn State
Vega Yawane from what I have
Vega
heard.
Yawane. That's I can do that one. Vega Yawane, the guard from Penn State here. I think he is one of the top interior offensive linemen here. But going and watching that Penn State IU game, that Indiana defense is top notch, and they have dominated offensive lines throughout the year. If you go back and watch that second half, though, too, especially him, he was really pushing the Indiana defensive line around, really dominating, and I think that's going to translate over too, because I think guys like Spencer Fanu, Francis Miaga, how do you
Now we
pronounce his
know.
name? Maui Noah, or even to Caden Proctor. Teams might take them, I think, potentially, and being like, hey, let's see if we can move them at tackle here. But it was always transitioning into guard. But I think if you're looking for a pure guard here, I think go and get Vega Awane. Going to go with that's what Carolina's going to go with here.
Yeah, no, I like that pick. I'm a big fan of Vega Yawane. Dude is massive. He's a great athlete. He's an absolute mauler, and I believe he's only given up like one pressure on the year, three hurries. Yeah,
Yeah,
in 12 games. So,
yeah.
uh,
I know too. If you go look at that IU game that I just referenced, the PFF didn't rate him well. Maybe some of that was from the first half, but if you go look at that second half, though, I I,
yeah.
I bet he played much better in the second half than that first half.
So this is one of the things that like I think PFF gets a lot of crap for. Like, so a 60 in PFF is like you did your job throughout the majority of the game. You might have had some good reps, bad reps there. So anything above a 60 is good. And I think you
Yeah,
look at that Ohio State game, he had a 71. Indiana, he was basically right at a 60. I really think he's a plug and play left guard. It's just an
Well,
absolute
yeah.
phenomenal player.
I also think as well too. It's kind of when I've looked at the PFF scores, I kind of look at it like BMI. You know, if you're tracking your BMI, it's not an end all be all if you're healthy or if you're out of shape. I think it's just kind of a good
Yeah.
maybe potential reference point, but it's not the end all be all. Like, oh, PFF said that they played great or played bad. It's not. It's not always an exact science, in my opinion. Do great work, especially too since we're using their software here to do this draft. But still, it's. I think it's a good reference point, but not the exact science because
Yeah.
it's someone's opinion, just like ours.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. So here with the Cowboys, interesting, season they've had so far. Started out really rough. They're kind of making a playoff push right now. Actually, they're on Thursday Night Football right now. So very curious to see what route they go at the end of the year because I feel like they're going to be one of those teams. I don't think they need defense, obviously. But offensively, CD Lamb, George Pickens is going to be a free agent. So we'll just see what they end up doing. And if they re-sign him or if they don't, that could heavily sway what I do here. But for now, I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to go get David Bailey. They traded for Quinnen Williams with one of their first round picks this year. And or sorry, with one of their first round picks next year and a second this year. But I'm going to go and get him. I think he could come in and really be an impact player for them. Very explosive off the ball. He has an absolutely tremendous pass rush win rate with 22.4%.
Yeah,
And he's an okay run defender. But let's be honest, Cowboys don't defend the run anyways. So go get yourself an explosive pass rusher here, and then you'll live with it on early downs, or you'll rotate them in and out from there.
yeah,
So I'm a big fan of David Bailey here.
yeah. And I think if they're able to keep Quinn Williams, it's going to help out the run game just in general.
Yeah.
And so we'll need to monitor. Actually, is this contract year for Quinn Williams? I think it is.
No, 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 no. I think he was just signed an extension.
I know
Like,
Sauce Gardner was, and so I'll have to go and double check that. But here with the Lions, for me, I need some help on the offensive line, but I think also too they've been dealing with injuries as well too. But I think in that secondary, I like what they're doing in the secondary, but still just have some inconsistent play. I really like Avion Terrell. I think Avion Terrell is going to be a guy here that can go and bring in some more competition here, but also help raise the ceiling. It really more honestly raise the floor. I think it in that secondary room provide a lot more maybe unique matchups here. I think another guy I was thinking was Caleb Banks. But to me, I think for how big he is and how explosive he is, I think he fits more for like a 3-4 type defense, and they typically do a 4-3. So it absolutely could go and do like go Caleb Banks here. But I think they're going to stick with a secondary. That's just been an issue for them. Like they have good young talent there, but they're all still developing. So I think Avion Terrell
mhm.
here is going to be a good option.
Yeah, and Terrion Arnold is going to miss the rest of the season, I believe, with shoulder surgery,
Yeah,
and so they have a few other guys there. But yeah, I think you paired them up: Avion Terrell, Terrion Arnold, and then Brian Branch. That's a good trio
yeah,
on the back end of a defense. So here with the Texans, I think your logic, kind of with the Panthers there, uh, strengthen up that offensive line is going to be the approach I'm going to take here. So to me, there are some really good offensive linemen early on in this draft. The problem is, even more so than last year, I'm much more confident that most of these guys are going to kick in to be guards. I think when you look at the top of last year's class, Will Campbell was like an elite athlete at that left tackle spot. Armand Mimbu had like the requisite length. He was a little short, but also an elite athlete. Calvin Banks had the length as well to be on the outside. So there were more true tackles in last year's class, in my opinion. Where like Spencer Fano, I think, has a chance to stick at right tackle. But I think Francis Maui Noah is going to kick into guard. Caden Proctor, we'll see how he does with lateral agility. You know, I think he's been fine in that at the college level, but we'll see how that goes at the NFL level. Jennings Dunker's another guy. Even later on, Austin Searveld and Caleb Tiernan, I think, are going to be guards as well. But for the Texans, I'm going to go with Francis Maui Noah. I think he'll slot right in at that right guard spot. So you'd have Ariante Ursary, Brenton Strange in the middle, Francis Maui Noah. You'd have Blake Fisher to go wherever. If Maui Noah can make it at tackle, I think you could potentially play him at right tackle. But for now, I think you're just going to plug and play him there at right guard.
I like it. I like it. I can see that here. And so here with Baltimore on the clock here now, to me, I think it's either going to be the defensive line or it's going to be a receiver here. I do really like Denzel Boston, but I'm actually going to go with this with the way with how much speed that this team already has. I think someone to help pair up with Zay Flowers. Really think Casey Concepcion would help out a lot in this passing game here, and just the explosiveness that they would have. Just go full on like, no, we're just gonna outrun you. Well, outrun you with our receivers, and then with
Mm.
Derrick Henry just going to bulldoze you. And so,
Yeah,
very unique game here. But I think Casey Concepcion on one side, Zay Flowers on the other, and you're going to have they just re-signed Mark Andrews as well too. They just keep on helping out that receiving room and giving more passing options to Lamar Jackson because some of these other guys just haven't panned out for them. So I think another just speedster and kind of almost a trick ish player. Not trick because he's a good receiver too as well. But him coming in his rookie year going to be the yak guy. Just get the ball in his hand and see what he can do with it. I like Casey Concepcion here on that one.
yeah, I actually like that pick too because I don't know if you resign Zay Flowers. I don't think he's been good enough to earn that like $30 million wide receiver contract. And being a former first round pick, I think other teams will probably outbid you uh, for him on an open market. So be interesting
Maybe.
to see
Yeah.
what happens there. But I think the Ravens kind of cover their bases with Casey Concepcion. Here with the Buccaneers, I think this is another really interesting one just because I feel like this team is already fairly well rounded. They've done a decent job of drafting younger wide receivers with Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan. Uh, Chris Godwin is going to be there for a little while longer. And then, Mike Evans is definitely getting near the end of his career. You could go get Denzel Boston for that wide receiver room, but I feel like they've spent a lot of capital on that wide receiver room already. So maybe they wait a little bit longer to go and do that. I still think, corner is still a need. I would love Cassius Howell on this defense. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Cassius Howell is just so explosive. And I think if you get him out in a wide nine, you have Vita Vea in the middle. That's going to help minimize the effect that his lack of length will have. And I
Yeah.
think you'll just allow him to absolutely run by some tackles on that defense. And I think you look, Nick Scorton and Princely Uman for the Panthers are playing well. And then your Falcons, rookie edge rush duo are playing pretty well as well. So I think it's time that the Bucks get in on the mix there and they get
I like
Cassius
it.
Howell here.
I like it. I'm glad you did that because then the Bills, I was like, decided I'm going Jamar McCoy here. I know he's
Yeah.
super great talent, 2024 here, and so haven't seen him play too much. Need to see how he tests, but I do think you go and pick him up here. And Maxwell Harrison, now that he's been playing, he's been playing decently well. I think potentially you could have your star cornerback duos side by side here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I like that pick. And then you look, they've invested in that defensive line. And Ed Oliver will be back next year as well when he returns from injury. So yeah, I think that that's going to be a good spot for them. I could also see them going linebacker if like Sonny Styles is on the board, or I'm not sure who else at this point would really be worth it. But here with the Eagles, another interesting one. I'm actually going to go. They don't necessarily need it right now, but I'm actually going to go Spencer Fano, and I think they can
Ooh.
invest in the right side of that offensive line. I think Lane Johnson, getting up there in age as well. So go and get somebody to kind of come in and be that right tackle, right guard of the future, and really start to solidify things in that group.
So I agree with the offensive line pick. I was thinking Caden Proctor, being like you go have Makai Becton, and you move him into guard here. And I
Yeah,
think I think the specs on the specs isn't the right word to use. The physical traits for Caden Proctor are very similar to Makai Becton, and you go and plug him in there. That would have been my initial thoughts here too, because I think that also would help out
yeah.
with his lateral movement, and also too I think be like, "Hey, Saquon, just go run behind this guy," and then like
You have
Proctor,
Jordan
your guy, you're
Mailata and Caden Proctor on the left side.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, and so it'd be like you are just running like behind these guys, and I think that's where they had
yeah,
a lot of that success. I love Spencer Fanu. I'm talking about specifically for the fit for the Eagles. I still think that could be a potential good pick. My one thing too, if you're going to go talk about Lane Johnson with Spencer Fanu, he's a left tackle, or Spencer Fanu the right tackle.
Spencer Fanu is
because
the right tackle. Caleb Lomu is the left tackle.
that's okay. Because I would have gone with that one, whoever was the right tackle, which is Spencer Fanu. So you're
Yeah.
correct on that one. So here with the Jets, this is now Indianapolis pick here, but they went with Peter Woods early on. And so I think for here, now this is where I think this would be a good spot to go and get another receiving weapon here because you have Mason Taylor there. You do have a good offensive line. You maybe could go corner, but there's, I mean, you potentially could, but you're picking again here in about 10 picks. And so for me, when I go look at that receiving room here, last really potential first round talent is going to be Denzel Boston here. Let me see if there's really quickly though anybody else that I'm thinking of because you could also have with that next pick in the second round going to be a lot of guys here that you potentially could go with. But now I'll stick with Denzel Boston here. I think he's going to be a good compliment to Garrett Wilson there. Then honestly,
Yeah.
you go look at that pass catching room. You're going to have Garrett Wilson, Denzel Boston now, Mason Taylor, who's having a good year as well. You have to figure out the quarterback position. Brees Hall
AD
in the
Mitchell.
backfield. AD Mitchell now too. I knew there was somebody else that I was missing, and so I'm going to go with Denzel Boston here as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, as a Patriots fan, I would hate that because Garrett Wilson's already enough to cover. Denzel Boston
Yeah,
is a really physical receiver as well. So I think that's a good pick there for the Jets. You know, really rebuilding this roster, getting Peter Woods earlier, and now adding that wide receiver room. Here with the 49ers, I think this is another interesting spot. Another team that's going to be really hard to kind of put our fingers on all offseason with what their needs are just because of all the injuries that they've had. The one thing that I am certain of is I do think they need more offensive line help. And actually, this is where I'm going to take Caden Proctor off the board just because he's so big. And if he can just have some enough lateral mobility, it's going to be so hard for edge rushers to get around him just because of the sheer size. And
yeah,
so I think that that's going to be a really good pick for this team.
yeah, yeah. I could see that, especially like, with the Niners. They could go in any direction. I do think now with Brandon Ayuk not coming back, then you're going to have Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings. I do think more skill position players is going to be something that they're going to look at. Potential maybe tight end, see how far Kenyon Sadiq comes. That could be another team as well too that's looking for a post George Kittle. Um, Bounce back. But they've invested in a tight end position as well too. And so I'm not too concerned about the Niners drafting. They typically do seem to draft well. So here with the 25th pick with the Los Angeles Chargers, I know they have center and guard in there, and that's one I am thinking of. But I'm trying to think of who is worthy of this pick. I would love. I mean, you got Connor Lew, Jake Slaughter. Those are centers. Connor Lew, unfortunately, he tore his ACL. I think that's interior is going to be something that they can
Yeah.
go and
The one
address later on in the draft.
the other one that I am aware of that is much higher than PFF has is Iapani Lalulu.
Okay.
I still don't know, you know, I still think centers are usually a day 2 kind of pick for like the
Yeah.
best ones. But
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think here I am a fan of Jennings Dunker. I'm curious. I kind of want to see him. He's the right tackle, right? At,
yeah,
at Iowa, yes. And so um, he'll probably switch into guard here, but I'm going to wait and hold off on that pick here. Just I want to see him go up. J- Just want to watch him more. But once again, too, another guy played up against Indiana, did a good job. So for here, a lot of different ways. I'm going to go with Caden McDonald here. Address the interior on the other side. Just help out a lot with some other spots that you have here with the Chargers. I know it says edge rushers. I think they could end up going maybe T.J. Parker, but this seems like a Jim Harbaugh pick here too. I know it's tough for him to go with the Buckeye, but once again, we're getting to a point where I think it's not too many wrong picks for where
yeah.
for who all is available on the board. So I'm going to go with McDonald here.
Yeah, and for how bad that run defense was for so many years, granted they're much better this year and were last year, but I think you can never have too many guys
Yeah.
on that interior there as well. So uh, for me here with Cleveland, who was their first pick? Fernando Mendoza.
Oh yeah.
I want to help him out with this pick. I don't really think I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I may have to force it a little bit. Maybe, yeah, let's go Jennings Dunker. Let's do him here. I think that would really help this running game. He is going to kick in and be that right guard, but I think you look, that interior for the Browns is definitely getting older. I think he could be a staple at guard there for them for, a long time. And I love his physicality. He's got great hair. And yeah, I think that's a good pick there.
That you just wanted to say that, didn't you? He's got
Oh, the
great
hair
hair.
thing. Oh my gosh. He has like the best mullet I've ever seen. It's hilarious.
You love to see it. You love to see it. So now on the clock here with the Dallas Cowboys, they went with Avion Terrell here in the first with their first pick here. So now this is the Green Bay pick for the Micah Parsons trade here. Let me see. So I know they got Quinn Williams here. I know they are looking at some other areas here as well too. They're really set, I think, on a lot of things on the offensive side of the ball here. And so this is going to be they're going to have a pick of the litter here on the defensive side of the ball. Do they want to double up on corner here? Do they want to get another edge rusher and focus on that? If they have Quinn Williams here now, that they want to focus on the defensive interior here. So I'm going to go.
They drafted David Bailey, by the way, the edge rusher.
Oh,
Not a
who did
corner.
I? Oh, yep. Sorry, I'm going through PFF here as well. You're right. And I accidentally forgot the one. So Avion Terrell. Correct. Okay. So David Bailey. Okay. So that actually helps out a lot here. So then for me here, I'm going to go with Colton Hood here.
Colton Hood.
Let's address
Okay.
that secondary. Yeah, let's address that secondary. I don't think they could go wrong here. I mean, if they end up going with Avion Terrell here with the first pick, then they could go on the defensive line side. I think it's going to be it's going to be reversed. They're going to go. So if they go secondary, then they'll go defensive line here on this one. And they'll probably will end up going secondary, depending on who all's available here, because there's less top secondary guys. Because in the second pick, as you can see, a lot of guys are here all throughout the entire defensive line, while it gets a lot slimmer on the defensive line side of the ball. So thank you for that correction.
Yeah, no, you're good. Just wanted to you said double up on corner, and I was like, they took a edge. I was like, just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. But
No, I made a mistake because I forgot to put David Bailey for you here when they did that. And then Avion Terrell was the next pick. So I
okay.
appreciate it.
Here with the Seahawks, this is another team that's really improved. I think that they don't necessarily need a lot. This is probably the best defense in football right now. And man, Quincy Rose said today he's going back to school. I'm kind of thinking interior offensive line again, but I don't
Okay.
love the value there. Let's get R. Mason Thomas. Boye Mafe is a free agent, and he was a very hot name at the trade deadline. And for whatever reason, I feel like Seattle is gonna just move on from him. And so I'm gonna go with R. Mason Thomas, add another edge rusher to that room. He's a guy that I really like. He's great speed, similar build to Boye Mafe. But I think he's going to come in and kind of replace him in that more limited role that he seems to have taken on this year.
Okay. I like it. I could see that here. So moving on now to the Rams, their first pick, if I'm not mistaken, I did have them take Caleb Downs here. And so with this one, once again, a lot of defensive players here. So if they're wanting to address the offensive line, who are just some top guys here. So it's funny. I mean, they have Devontae Adams as well. He's technically a little bit older in age. But I think, too, they're also really good at getting receivers and guys that contribute in day 2 and day 3. So I think they're going to be trying to find just best player available here and guys that fit their speed. I know they need some offensive line help. I think there's other guys that they can go and do here. But Caleb Banks falling in here, though, and then you already go and pair that up then, too, with the pressure that they provide with their edge rushers and then their linebackers as well. I'm going to go with Caleb Banks here. So I know they've got a lot of other good defensive interior help, like with Braden Fisk, for example. But I think you go get Caleb Banks, just even some more pressure there, help with that run stuff and capabilities.
Yeah, no, I especially think too in situational roles. I think that he's going to be a very useful weapon for that defensive front. So,
yep.
Here with Denver, pick 30. Uh, man, they could go in so many different directions. Another team that's just super well rounded. Um, I'm gonna upgrade the corner 2 spot. I think Pat Surtain is fantastic. Riley Moss, and granted, he's probably been one of the more targeted corners in the league, but I think Riley Moss has been one of the most penalized corners in the league this year. And
Yeah.
I really like Keith Abney from Arizona State. He's been phenomenal this season, so I'm going to snag him here for this Broncos team.
Okay, I like it. I could see it. Yeah, just how once again the Broncos team, similar I think to the Buccaneers, is very well rounded in general,
Yeah,
really good defense, and so I'm sure they'll go get other skill position players here as well. But they all they could go get some good value here in the second and third round. So here, my last pick, the Bears' first pick in this mock draft here. To me, so I think I'm down to 2 Georgia players here. I do think they need help with the defensive interior. So either Christian Miller or CJ Allen, the linebacker here as well. Just areas that they have good veteran names in, but also just a little bit older. So I'm gonna go with CJ Allen here, linebacker from Georgia. I think he's really explosive. I think he's gonna be a good fit on this defensive side of the ball. Guy that can help out both the run and pass as well. So I'm gonna go with CJ Allen here for my last pick.
nice. Yeah, no, I think that's a good one. Help out that second level. He's been kind of the brain of that Georgia defense this year when he's been healthy. So I think that's a really solid pick. I'm glad you made that pick because I'm going to make TJ Parker a New England Patriot. I think this pass rush, not that TJ Parker is like the most explosive pass rusher, but I think you look at his well-roundedness, his ability to hold up in the run game, in like a true like 4-3 edge. I think that's going to be something that Vrabel values very much. I think they need some depth in that room. I think Elijah Ponder has kind of come on as of late. So I think you have Harold Landry, depending on if Caleb on Chason comes back or not. You have him, and then you'll have Elijah Ponder, and then you had TJ Parker to that room as well. And then Braden Swinson, we'll see where he's at. But I really like that edge rushing room. I think that defensive interior for the Patriots is really good. And then from there, I think the most important thing after that is go and build on this run game and allow Drake May to lean on that as much as possible in 2026. So
I like it. I like it. Yeah, if your Patriots are picking 32nd, I don't think you will be too upset.
no, not at
Overall.
all.
So, but no, good mock draft. It was a fun one, first one in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many different directions that this could go to. We'll have more clarity too once we know what quarterbacks are going to be coming out in the draft here as well that are first round talents. And so curious to see what quarterbacks maybe could potentially rise up here in the first round just based off necessity. But I think here though, I mean, so many different directions every single team could go. Like is Caleb Downs going to be a top 10 pick? Like he's top 10 player, yes, but he is a safety though. Jeremiah Love, how far is he going to fall? Kenyon Sadiq, is that too high? I mean, I agree with you, the value that you had there. So a lot of different routes that I think that this draft is going to end up going to like right after the first, even at the first pick too. Who's going to trade up
Yeah.
and go take a quarter? And who's going to take a quarterback? Go take Mendoza and to be their quarterback here. The Titans are going to get a draft haul if this is the layout here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then even on like the back end of the first round, we went very heavy personnel. Got what 4 or 5 tackles there, a couple
Yeah,
edge rushers, a couple defensive interior guys, and I think a guard at some point as well, a couple guards. So
yeah.
it's a really interesting class. I'm very excited for this draft process to start, and we can really start getting a lot more information about these guys. But for now, let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of your team's picks in this draft, or pick or picks in this draft. Let us know down below. And on that, we will see you guys next time.